Outlast is a new Netflix show that takes lone wolf personalities and splits them into teams to compete for $1 million in a contest of survival. They are given tools to set up camp, build shelter, and produce fire. The teams are Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. On day one, you have the group Alphas jockeying for position. In Alpha, Jill asserts dominance and proceeds to pick a horrible camp location. In Bravo, Javier knows a lot, but is not a people person. While the two previous groups have trouble maintaining fire, the other two are successful. Charlie and Delta establish themselves as the leaders. On day two, the after effects of a wet and cold night of sleep is evident. Alpha must move their camp as Jill has to defend her bad decision. She is unmoved as she refuses to consider any opinions coming from the males within her group. The discussion in Bravo is on how abrasive Javier is with his requests/orders. Only Brian is willing to go along to get along. Charlie goes on a search for fresh drinking water. Andrea decides to drink some dirt water. It takes no genius to figure out how that turns out. She gets sick and goes home. Episode 1 was a nice setup for the show. They highlighted some of the personalities, and it's off to a good start. It's day 3. The show makes a point of showing bears, but no one is ever in any danger. It would not shock me to learn that it's a trained bear. All camps are dealing with a lack of food. 2 dudes in Bravo have decided that they'd rather check out on $1 million than to hang out with Javier for another second. They leave, and Bravo is now down to 2. Jordan, a cocky young member of Delta, visits Charlie's camp and tells them that Delta is living like kings. He suggests that maybe someone in Charlie should desert the group and join them over at Delta. I didn't know that people could switch teams. Perhaps I missed it, but I don't think the show does a good job of defining the rules. Alpha loses a member, Lee. The women in the group show little sympathy. They call him weak. Now Delta is the only team with 4 members left. On day 7, they get a resource drop with tools to build a raft and a map to an island that contains crab pots. Crab pots are gadgets used to trap crabs. The competition plays out like a tortoise versus the hare scenario. Jordan of Team Delta takes a huge lead. While showboating, doing push-ups, his raft is passed by underdog Angie of Team Charlie. This episode had nice drama, and the character dynamics are pulling me in. Angie of Team Charlie gets 3 of the 5 crab pots. Her camp partner Nick has to eat crow as he doubted her ability before the competition. The ladies of Alpha figure out that they can walk to the island during the low tide. They do so and secure the remaining 2 pots. Jordan of Delta comes back empty-handed after all of his showboating. It's good to see the early villain in the show get his karma. Charlie and Delta have a powwow, and the seed gets planted that Paul is welcome to join Charlie. Later that night, Paul suggests trading with Team Charlie, but his team member Dawn floats the idea of stealing one of the crab pots. Once again, I was blindsided by the revelation that stealing was an option in this competition. What am I watching? Jordan starts to fade and eventually passes out. He's out of the competition. In this episode, the drama is picking up, and I've actually learned a few things about survival. Learning is always a positive. The show's entertainment level has remained consistent. I'd say the show does a good job of grabbing your attention and keeping it. Survival shows are not something that I'd normally seek out to watch. The drama element, while interesting, may be a little manufactured. I can't really tell because the rules of the show seem to be rather fluid. I don't know what's allowed and what's prohibited. Maybe production wants it that way. My verdict is that I'm in on this show. I'm curious whether the weather conditions will force some of the tougher competitors to tap out. The show didn't match my expectations content-wise, but it is entertaining nonetheless. In 5 seconds, I'd like to make a note of something that could be considered a spoiler. I'll give you time to click away starting now. Okay, I actually ended up watching the remainder of the show. I'll warn you that something happens in episodes 4 and 5 that changes the whole vibe of the show. Basically, I went from watching it to see who performed the best to watching it to root for the failure of certain players. Just want to let you know that the twist could definitely change your perception of the viability of the competition. That said, I enjoyed it nonetheless.